Welcome to Living in the Secret Place. My name is Woody Money. Tonight I have a very, very special guest. His name is Josh Gray. He is on staff here at the Secret Place, and I'm excited for you to meet him and get to talk to him and to hear his ideas and thoughts about peace. It's going to be a lot of fun. Typically when we get together, we just have just a lot of fun. We've been through a lot together, and that's why he's one of my closest friends. And I love him to death. I know you will too. Let's get started. Ciao.
Mm-hmm. Have you hit record already?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, man. How's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
You doing all right?
Yeah, man. I'm sorry. I was just reading the Bible. I'm spiritual. I'm real spiritual.
I hacked into your computer and you were just reading your Bible.
Just reading my Bible. Reading nothing else. Good to see you.
It's good to see you, man. You doing all right?
Yeah, doing good. It's been a long, wonderful day.
Awesome. It is about to be like a giant Category 4 hurricane over here. I don't know.
That's really good.
It's going to be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're going to be totally safe. It's going to be great.
I am, in the name of Jesus. Going to be totally safe.
Mm-hmm.
No, I hanging out in the schoolroom. The kids are in there. They are playing Minecraft, preparing their.
They play Minecraft?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Me and Raven play Minecraft.
Really?
We should all play in the same world. Like, we can play in the same world even if I'm on Xbox or whatever. So.
Really?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to talk with you after this. And
yes, we should totally do that. That would be amazing.
Uh-huh.
Jessica's in there making her little world, you know, and the kids are like,
visit our house. We have our own house.
What? Yeah. Yes, we will do this for sure.
Okay.
I am actually in their schoolroom right now. I've got paintings going up. See that painting? Look at that right there.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that awesome?
Those are really cool. Are those yours?
Sadly, actually, yes, they're my old ones. And for some reason, they wanted to put those up there. Yeah, but they're
wonderful.
This is theirs. This is theirs.
Very nice.
Yeah, look at that. 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 Boom.
Wow.
Stuff. Got the Florida.
Wow.
Got the Florida flag. Got some kind of happy flag. Got all kinds of stuff, man. This is a plant. It's really good.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, man. So for those of you who don't know, Josh is a really good friend of mine. And Josh is actually on our Secret Place team. And I'm excited to get to introduce him to you guys. And today we're going to talk about random things like we've been doing, but we're going to talk about peace, a little bit about peace. And I want to talk a little bit about preparing our heart to kind of take on the storms of life. We've got a pretty big storm coming. We've got a Hurricane Dorian is knocking at our door, coming up the East Coast right now. And another part of our Secret Place arm, we actually made a pretty neat little app for watching Dorian, and we call it Dorian Tracker. It's got like 600 views on it. But you guys can go check that out. It's called Dorian
really
Tracker. Yeah. So one thing we do with technology, we actually help out missionaries be able to communicate what they're doing in the field live with their supporters. I'm really excited about that. And so anyway, I'm super excited to have Josh on. He's a great guy. He has an incredible small group. The other day, you guys did a small group on peace. Finding peace.
And it actually went really well. We had our first one yesterday afternoon.
Really?
And it was better than I thought it was going to be. There was only 2 people there this time because I think small groups don't really officially start. Maybe they do, but a lot of the folks were out, for Labor Day weekend and all that stuff. But, it's basically we get together and we talk about stuff first, and we're kind of following after an app called Soul Time.
Oh, I love that app. Yeah, I know what you're talking
It's
about.
really, really good. It's kind of like a guided meditation. Really, really awesome. And it
Yeah,
actually hit both of the people who were there very hard.
really,
Yeah, like one of them was in tears. And
really, that's
yeah,
awesome.
it was wonderful. And there was another guy who actually has a story a lot like mine, because he struggles with anxiety, and he's just now getting into like ministry stuff. He's actually the guy that I go to if I need anything for my small group. So he's like
Wow.
helping out, actually like run small groups. And he said sometimes he gets so anxious and nervous that he's not even able to speak. Like, and he has to talk
Wow.
to a bunch of people. And if you remember the first time that I led Serve Day, I
Yeah.
was like that too. I was so anxious. I was like, "Hey, everybody, Serve Day." It was bad.
I remember.
But I'm a lot better now, and you know, so he's on that journey too, and the Lord showed him some things, and it was just really wonderful. It was beautiful.
That is so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome. Yeah, yeah. I remember back in the day when I was pastoring over at the Vine. Remember Josh and Raven? They're just amazing. That's where we first met. That's where I first met Josh, and got to know him. And Josh just has an incredible heart for God and for people, and it just he's just got a great, unique heart for God. And I just love him to death. Love you, man. Love your
Love
wife.
you too.
Love his awesome little boy. He's got a little boy, Shep. So the reason that I wanted to talk about this is today I was our topic of peace, and so I was riding in the car, and we were out preparing for the hurricane. We were gathering. We were going after two things. We were going after bread and water. That was on our list. And I got to looking at some memes. I got into like this wormhole of the internet of memes, like hurricane memes. The guy that's like carrying all the stuff, and he's like, he's crying. I'm sure you've seen this meme. I don't know, but there's several memes out there. You can just get lost in them. But the main thing in each of them, there was a running theme of bread and water, and I was like, that's the one thing that people get during a hurricane. Like that's the one thing that clears out of the grocery store, right?
Yeah.
Probably even up there in Alabama. I know back in when the hurricane was coming, it's like bread and water. Always goes missing. And so I got to thinking about that, and the Lord was like just reminding me of how He compared Himself to bread, the bread of life, and the water, of life, the living water, and it got me to thinking, like, because I was getting hungry when I was riding around thinking about all this, and I started getting hangry, and I got to thinking, like, I wonder if I can get spiritually, like, hangry, like, I wonder if I can kind of get to a place where the bread and water, which is Jesus, the thing that fills my soul, the water that Jesus said, would well up in me to everlasting life, and I would, have this joy inside of me, and this bread that would fill my heart and my soul, like I'm wondering if I go for a long time without being in a place like you were, the other day in your small group, where you were meditating on God and you were meditating on the Word and you were getting the Word inside of you and all that. Like I wonder if I can get spiritually hangry, where I'm like just spiritually angry, just spiritually like upset and unfulfilled and not at peace, and I don't know. You think we can get spiritually hangry? Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely, I do.
I mean, and And then, if we can get spiritually hangry, I wonder, because we're not eating enough, I wonder if we can get a spiritual tummy ache, when we do like consume all this like stuff and then we never actually do anything, It's like a
Yeah.
tummy ache comes from too much eating with no activity, you
Yeah.
know? Like,
Right.
And so like if I do too much eating of the word and too much eating of all this stuff without ever actually doing anything with it, like in a couple of days, our family is going to
Yeah.
have a huge opportunity to go bless the community because there's going to possibly, I'm not speaking any negativity, with the hurricane. I'm just saying there could be needs around us
Mm-hmm.
to go help people, And so
Yeah.
like, um, I wonder if sometimes we stay in this place that's not at peace,
Yeah.
because of the amount or lack of bread and water in our life. Like if we don't have enough, and we're kind of looking for, getting hangry, getting spiritually
Yeah.
angry,
Yeah.
But
And I think,
yeah,
no, I was just going to say, and if you don't have that bread there,
yeah.
sometimes you might eat the wrong thing. You might be eating a bunch of candy
What?
and you don't need to be eating it.
Yes,
Yeah. You see what I'm
that's
saying?
good.
Yeah.
I like it. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. I mean, if we don't do, like what Jesus, is calling us to do. Like, I mean, we just live kind of this unfulfilled, purposeless. I mean, like you want to. It's almost like you hear so much and then you don't do anything, and just it makes your stomach, your spiritual stomach, kind of sick. Like
Yeah.
uh, because I can tell you, so many of us are not at peace, not because we don't get enough worship or word, but
Yeah.
because we're not actually going and loving people that God has called us to actually go love, in
Mm-hmm.
ways that He's actually called us to go do it. We're not working off what we're bringing in into our
Yeah.
soul, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. That was just my perspective on that. And I had another thought actually. While I was having this hangry conversation with myself, thinking about this, I actually got a text, and the text was like, "I don't know about you, but it seems like we pay a price every time, preparing for one of these storms to come through." And I just got that text, and I was like, it was just like a perspective kind of shock. It's like, yeah, we do. We actually do pay a pretty good price every time we, to prepare for these storms,
Mm-hmm.
coming through. I know, man, for the boards that we have for the outside of our house, the boards that go on these windows, like uh, it was $200 to go get the boards, get the screws, get them cut, make sure that I'm gonna put them up right. And we got them during Irma. We got them and we put
Yeah.
them up during Irma. I haven't put them up for this storm. I don't know if I will. I may only put them up on one side of my
Yeah.
house. It's still kind of the wind's going to be coming from one direction, so I may just put them on one side. But my other thought here, while I was riding around hangry, thinking about being spiritually hangry, and maybe like a spiritual tummy ache and bread and water and all this was kind of swirling in my mind, was, and I got this text, was kind of like, you know, do we actually, like, preparing for life's storms, like, is actually going to cost us some time, like it's going to cost us some time to get into the
Yeah.
bread. It's going to cost us some time to get into the water.
Yeah.
It's going to cost us some time to go out there and actually buy this, purchase this bread and water, is actually just spending time in God's word, spending time in worship.
Yeah.
And I just got to thinking, like, if I am blindsided by something, and I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you, if I'm honest with you, sometimes life seems like it's from one crazy thing to the next,
Yeah.
and
Oh.
it's like a wave.
Uh-huh.
It's like, oh, glad that you got your car fixed, because the refrigerator's broken. You know,
Right.
it's like something, like another thing, just comes
Uh-huh.
another thing. And I feel like if we wait for the storm to be here before preparing for the storm, paying the price for the preparation, then we're going to be out in the storm putting up
Yeah.
wood on
Oh
our
man,
house. You know what
I
I'm
was
saying?
just about to say that it exactly because I'd much rather be prepared before the storm hits than have to go out in it and try to nail up the boards and everything while I'm getting smacked myself in that spot so many times to where I could feel the tension in my own soul
Right.
building up. And
Yep.
then when I'm about to pop is when I'm like, okay, I'm going to go get in the word. And it's so much harder to focus and
Yeah.
so much harder to come to that place of rest so that I can hear that small, still voice of God and like really get back on track. And
Yeah.
so now what I do to try to keep my peace during those times is when I can feel that storm building, when I can feel the tension coming, then that's when I really try to be diligent to dive into the word, to do my app, to do soul time, to do whatever,
Yeah.
um, so that it's not so hard because
Yeah.
nobody likes to get beat up in the middle of that stuff. I mean, it stinks.
Oh yeah. But I mean, I have been there way more often than I'm proud of.
Me
Like,
too. I was just there today.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was thinking yesterday. And this is no lie. I was sitting out there with Jessica, and I was talking to her, and I was like, like, I just want to be a little bit happier dad. You know, like, I don't want my kids to remember me as somebody who is just frustrated all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Struggling all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, just like just frustrated all the time. And so like I have to make it a point to go get bread and water, to go get uh, to stay stocked with bread and water, so that I can,
Man.
because there's, man, I would love to just live in a world without storms. It'd be great. It'd be,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but I don't think that's going to be the course. I do.
That's so funny. Like, it's so funny that you even mentioned that because, like, just today, like, yesterday I had an awesome day. It was great. We had church, we had small groups, everything was good. Like I got to pray over a bunch of people and I got like words for them and like on point. We were calling stuff out. It was awesome. And
Yeah.
then today, wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna chill. I'm not gonna do anything. Like
Yeah.
we went and we walked and we had a good time there. Then I got home and I just felt like I was stir crazy.
Yeah.
Didn't know it was my soul crying out like you need some time with God after
Wow.
pouring yesterday. So I could feel the pressure building and building and building. And
Yeah.
then I got some financial news that I didn't want and I was like, I can't deal with this. And like
Yeah.
just was done.
Yeah.
And it just kept building and building. And what happened was for me, there's things that I do to restore my soul.
Yeah.
Like, and it can be small things, but it's me and the Lord doing it. Things like I get on the floor and I stretch and like I love on myself and like I'm talking with God and I'm worshiping and there's just it's so awesome. That's like our time.
Yeah.
And I might go out to my shop and I might like do some exercise. I might work on my bike, like just do things like that. And that restores me.
Wow.
And I didn't do any of those things for a long time. And I got this headache and I was just mad. And this whole time I'm with my son and my wife, and I'm struggling so hard to be present.
Yeah.
Like, because when you're in that time, when you're not restoring yourself, you feel rushed.
Yeah.
Like there's this constant tension and anxiety, and you feel rushed. So finally, we were outside and we were trying to feed the baby, and he's wiping snot all over his face and he's crying. And I'm like, see, I would laugh at this, but I'm like getting so aggravated. And like you said, I don't want to be that dad.
Yeah.
Don't want to be that dad. And then my wife is finally like, you go do what you have to do. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go to this shop then. I just need a minute. And,
Yeah.
and like was having a headache. I had a bad headache.
Yeah.
Went in there. And this is like, it sounds so simple, but it's stuff that I'm honestly doing with the Lord. Like we're doing it together. I changed the spark plug on my truck. I start like exercising, and I can feel like the tension start to be relieved, and I'm starting to get like happy again. And the reason why this works for me is because these are things that the Lord used to lead me to do when I was broken. And He was like, listen, let's go do something together, and let's restore your soul. And I had a lot of soul restoration in this time where I'm like having to be in my shop, and I'm like working on my truck and not having to worry about anything but what I'm doing. And the whole time I'm doing this, the Lord is whispering in my ear, I love you.
Wow.
It's going to be okay. I got you. Building up my faith. So I'm in the shop going back to those still waters that I went to in the past, where I know He's there and I know He's with me. We have history there.
Yeah.
And then my wife and my child walk out there like half an hour later, and like I can feel my headache disappearing. Like I can feel things just starting to like even out again. And I came back inside. I got a shower, and it's like night and day, man. I feel like my tank has been refilled. So, and it's so much harder when you let yourself get to where you're about to pop, because I easily wanted just to go inside and just to be miserable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah.
And it's a complete turnaround. Complete. Like I feel 100% better.
Wow.
100%. So
that's incredible. No, that's a really good perspective. I wonder, that really brought it to kind of a practical point, like what I was saying about bread and water. Because, I mean, we can say, you need to go get the bread of life. You need to go get the living water. We can say that all day, but and confuse the crap out of people.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I mean, there's a mystery to the gospel, and it's very mysterious, but there's a practical thing, there's practical relation. There's a thing that God wants to, bring into our lives, like He brought this, working on this truck, being in this shop, being in this place.
He leads you beside still waters, and that could be anything for you. Like He's going to lead you to that place where He can calm you down, and you can get still and listen. It like there's a lot of things I believe in the Bible are literal, and then there's other things where He's trying to do an analogy. Like, and when you build a relationship with Him, that's going to look different to you.
That's great.
It's going to be special with you and the Lord.
Yeah. No, we actually, we were at church last, I believe it was, let's see, it's Monday. So yesterday, when we were at church, we actually heard a message by a guy. He's from Passion Church, and he's Jonathan Brozozog, I think is his name. He's just an amazing guy. I mean, he's just an amazing, awesome dude. But Jonathan one thing that Jonathan Brozozog said is he was talking about how he's raising his kids, to love the Lord and to talk to Jesus, to have a relationship with Jesus. And it reminded me, that's what I want for my kids. I don't want to just be like, do these videos and make these, apps for, and web applications and stuff, and then, do all this ministry, and then one day the kids, jump away from it.
Yeah.
And so one thing that we've intentionally done, and it just made me jump around, because he mentioned that every night before they go to bed, they get around the table and they pray and they talk about the Lord for like a certain number of minutes, like 30 minutes or something, right before they go to bed. And he said it changed like the way that his kids stopped having nightmares, and they started, focusing on the Lord right before they went to bed. And
wow.
Yeah, isn't that good? And then
Yeah.
So me and the kids have been doing this routine every night, and it just, hearing him talking about this has just stoked fire for that routine, because I'm thinking in my head, like, is it making a difference? Because you do this thing over and over every night, and you wonder, is it, making a difference in my kid's life? But anyway, we'll do this thing where we get them to say the Lord's Prayer. We'll ask them, we'll say, what kind of man are you going to marry? And they'll say, a godly man. We'll say, how do you know he's a godly man? And then they'll say, the fruits of the Spirit. And I'll say, well, what are they? And then they'll tell me all the fruits of the Spirit. And I'll, well, what is the greatest commandment? They'll tell me, and we go on through, we build and they'll say kingdom. We build the kingdom, and
wow.
Before we say goodnight, I always tell them, you're going to change the world. I tell them that you're going to change the world. That's something I've told them. The two youngest ones, since they were born, Madeline, since she was like 2, because I didn't think about it until she was about 2. And then she started telling me, you're awesome, Daddy. You're going to change the world, Daddy. And I'm like, melting, So telling her, you're going to change the world. And then I tell them, marry a godly man. I tell JoJo to marry a godly woman. And then I'll say, talk to Jesus. That's the last thing that they hear every single night is talk to Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And for them, one thing that I've started doing is actually, I'll give them a scenario. I'll say, you and Jesus, this is the way I'll put it to them. I'll say, you and Jesus are sitting at a candy store, and there's just all kind of candy on the table, and then I'll shut the door. And so the last thought in their head, they're, I really don't care if they think I'm crazy. It doesn't matter. And I don't care if anybody out there thinks on YouTube thinks I'm crazy either. But like,
they probably crazy.
they probably did it. I'm okay. I've been called way worse. But like so I'll shut the door, and then they'll giggle, and but it sets them up to have this conversation with Jesus.
Yeah.
And so I'll go into JoJo's room and I'll say something similar, something really stupid, like, you and Jesus are on a pirate ship. Good night, and shut the door. And he just kind of leads. I can't make him talk to Jesus. Okay.
Yeah.
Can't make him pray. Okay. Can't force him. But I can help them I can lead them into the relationship. I can lead them
and use their imagination in a positive way. That's really cool.
Yeah. So instead of letting, it kind of run all kind of sideways, in their head, I used to have all kind of nightmares. I would have nightmares so bad when I was a kid that, like, I remember them hearing this sound, and it'd be like that kind of like hissing sound. You get louder and louder and louder. And I remember being a kid, and I was probably like 7 years old or whatever. I'd have to kick myself. I'd have to kick my leg to wake myself up. I was asleep kicking myself to wake myself up as a little kid. I had nightmares that my parents were dead and all this crazy stuff. And it wasn't until I started right into college, I started really spending a long time with the Lord. that all these, nightmares quit kind of messing with me so bad. Now I've had nightmares pretty rough but I started having these awesome dreams, where I was, just talking to the Lord and, experiencing God, in my dreams, because I had set him up, my mind, I was focusing on him and thinking about him and, kind of some of the things that you're talking about when we started, with your meditation, and that really led me down the road to find my bread and water, which is the Lord, to finding the actual thing that actually makes me have peace, the joy, the peace, the fulfillment, And there's a verse in John 6:35, and it says, "Sir," they said, "give us that bread always." And he's talking about. It says the verse right before it, in verse 32, it says, "In all truth I tell you, it was not Moses who gave you the bread from heaven; it is my Father who gives you the bread from heaven, the true bread. For the bread of God is the bread which comes down from heaven and gives life to the world." "Sir," they said, "give us his bread always." Jesus answered them, "I am the bread of life." And when he says, "I am the bread of life," that "I am" is actually going back to when God first said his name to Moses, because when he said it, he said, "I am that I am." And so when Jesus says, "I am the bread of life," he's saying it from the Father's, from the Father's, title, like I am. The bread of life. No one who comes to me will ever hunger. No one who believes in me will ever thirst. But as I have told you, you can see me and still not to believe it. Still do not believe. Everyone whom the Father gives me will come to me. So he's talking to these guys and he's saying, I am the bread, I am the water. And I don't know, man, it just wrecked me this past week. And seeing all these people go after water like it's their last thing on planet Earth, seeing people go after bread like they're gonna fight for it. And, I mean, really, they're just cleaning us out. I mean, the grocery store just doesn't. All the really expensive bread is left, it's just another message in itself.
You could do a whole series on that, probably.
Yeah, all the really expensive water and the expensive bread is left out there. But if you want it when you show up and a bunch of it's gone, you got to pay a price for it. In the moment. But
when we were talking about the bread of life, for some reason I got in my head Elohim. And I was looking it up. I was like, why am I thinking that? And it's the living God. Like,
wow.
Elohim.
Come on. Elohim. He is the living God. For me, where I really started finding bread and water was in a moment of meditation. Whenever I was jacked up, in my head and worried and all kinds of, bound up and all this kind of stuff. So anyway, I started waking up in the morning and putting my headphones in, laying down on the couch, and just spending some time just listening to worship music that I liked, and really, letting God do whatever he wanted to with my imagination and my thought process. And I'll tell you, man, I got to a place where I literally felt no fear. I'm talking like every day, no fear of anything. I mean, and I know fear is sometimes like a little signal to like don't touch the stove because it's going to burn your finger off. But I didn't have a fear of anything irrational. I didn't have anything or like anything that would try to harm me. Of course, I had a respect for the stove still.
Yeah.
But I didn't have like a fear that that we were going to go broke, that we were going to, and it was really, I feel like because I was spending time getting to know God's heart for me, and getting to know, his heart, in that place, getting that bread and water inside of me, whereas these storms that they did come, I wasn't afraid. The storms did come, and I wasn't, crushed. I wasn't abandoned. I was right there with the one who has my heart, and
that's such a good place.
yeah.
Oh man, and wouldn't it be awesome to live every day, all day in that place?
100%.
Like, I think it's possible, but
yeah,
man, it would be great.
I think it's very possible. I think it, a lot of it takes discipline at the beginning. Any kind of spending time with God, reading your Bible, all that stuff takes discipline at the beginning, but it turns into this fountain that just overflows, into your life, and you begin to desire the moment whenever you get to get back in the Word. You desire the moment when you get to get alone. Like all these people, around. I just cannot wait to all them go away and I can worship.
Dude, and he's so patient.
Yeah.
And like with me, I know in the beginning of my walk, there was a lot of striving and struggle for me to really understand who God is and how He thinks about me. Like, I've heard all these different things from a million different people, and a lot of times, like, through my discipline, because like I grew up in a military home. My dad was in the Air Force, and which he's a great dad. Like, he's not like horrible or anything, but there was a lot of things, like a lot of good things, a lot of good discipline that I learned from him. So I started kind of putting that into my faith of like, I need to do this and this and this. And I did it specifically when I got older, because I looked back on like all the times that I slacked off and almost just ruined my life. So I started to approach it like that. And in the beginning, I think I built up this false sense of who God was. And every time I would screw up, I was so hard on myself to where I would like chip away my soul, like so hard on myself. Did not give myself any grace hardly at all.
Right.
But as my relationship grew with God, and like I learned how patient He really is and how much grace He really has.
That's so good.
And that's empowered me to do better and, to be holier, really a lot more on accident than on purpose.
Wow.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I just go back to where there was one day, I was pretty much having a panic attack, and I had done something, and like, I'm not in any kind of habitual sin or anything like that. But, I had done something, I had said something, and I was being so hard on myself. I think it was actually more of a thought that I started to agree with.
Yeah.
And then I learned that I was wrong. So I was just hard on myself, beating myself up.
Wow.
And so I decided to do a meditation on the way. I think we were going to Dothan or something. It was like an hour drive. And I did not want my whole day to just be anxious and horrible. So I started to do those things that I know to do. And I did that meditation, and I saw in my imagination, Jesus was in a room, and He was like drawing on a drawing board.
Wow.
And I walk in there, and it's just Him and me. And I'm like, I'm so sorry I did that. I'm so sorry I thought that. Like, I was crying out to Him, and He looked at me like, stop. That doesn't even matter. And then He said, look what I'm drawing. And I look, and it's a picture of me holding up my son, and I'm like happy. And
Wow.
that stuff doesn't matter. I'm not worried about that. This is
Wow.
like, this is the future I have for you.
Wow.
Like, yeah, man. And that like changed my whole perspective on everything. He's so patient,
Yeah.
so patient.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to put that into words, how patient he is for us,
Yeah.
how much he loves us, how he's in the future preparing things for us.
Yeah.
You know, he wants everything to work out for our good, man.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're just so hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So he's really good, is what I'm saying.
It is really good. You know, I mean, that him asking you to kind of relax, like no, look at this.
Yeah.
In the story, it reminds me of, and this is what I was thinking of whenever you were talking in this John chapter 6, whenever he blesses the people he multiplies bread, for all the people. He actually has them sit down
Mm-hmm.
before he actually multiplies the food,
Mm-hmm.
And then it says, this. Then Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed them to those who were sitting there.
Mm.
He gave it to those who were sitting there. The food, the bread that he had, he gave it to those who were sitting. I think it's like, I think sometimes we've got to just, like you did, like just rest, and
Mm-hmm.
and just sit down, and allow God to, bless, like, no, look at this. This is what I got, So to get his perspective, it's almost like we've got to just relax and rest. I think, and I know that that's hard for a lot of people. It's hard for me in the beginning
Yeah.
because, you know, not knowing that God wasn't kind of this, what everybody portrayed him, maybe in the movies or, like he's going to really, like he's some kind of crazy person,
Mm-hmm.
ready to squash you,
Yeah.
at any minute, and so I think it's so good, man, that God that you found, that place and we're able to rest,
Mm-hmm.
and I think a lot of listeners are going to pick up on that and be able to do that as well from just your testimony. They're going to go, man, I've been worried about that too.
Mm-hmm.
I've been fighting with myself and worried what God thought about this, and worried what God thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so good. But
Great.
man, I wanted to ask you one more question, and I wanted to do this. I ask everybody this when they come on, and you're part of our staff here at this secret place.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I want to know what is intimacy with God to you? That's my question that I ask. Every person that comes on, and what is it? What is it to you? What is intimacy with God?
Mm. Well, I know for me, it changes depending on the season I'm in.
Well,
So I can just speak to like right now, it's just vulnerability. Like, and it's so crazy that we still try to hide things from him. Like in the back of our mind, we might have a thought and then we're like, oh, I can't think that because, the Lord will see it. And
yeah,
then you try to like hide it away.
yeah,
And now I'm practicing like as I'm growing in love with him, like I'm in love with him.
wow,
I love him.
that's so
So
good.
I'll bring that thought out. And a lot of times it hurts a little bit. And I'm like, God, here it is, in all its rawness. Like, here it
Wow,
is. This is all of me. Like, you have all of me. And
wow,
man, golly, I'm about to cry right now. Like, he's just good. Like,
yeah,
he's not gonna beat you up over it. Like, I think he honors things like that. But in the moment, it's scary, like, and it's just vulnerability and trust. Like, you just have to trust that he's going to be a gentleman, and and he's, man, it's just a lot of things. Like, he's so patient too with all of that. Like, for us, when we get put in, like, say my wife told me something that was really, deep and dark and, hard to deal with, that first, like, human instinct is to, like, oh, I want to get this over with. Like, I want us to work this out but like, he's actually takes the time, and there's no rushing. Like, everything is just this moment. And he's like, okay, like, we're going to handle this. Like, you can give me that, I'm going to give you peace back. Like, you give me that, I'm going to give you grace back. And whatever he gives you the grace for comes with the power to do what you weren't able to do before he gave it to you. So, yeah. So just all of that right now in this season.
That's so good. Well, I will have to bring you back, man. You have to come back on, and we'll see what it is in another season too. But man, that's just so good. What I'm probably going to do now is just cut out all the things that I said and then leave like your comments because they're so good. It's more like just spiritual ramblings of a rambling person. But
they make so much sense to me. Like, it's wonderful.
I think you're great, man. I think you're anointed. I think you got a message in your heart. I think the message that I've heard tonight is the message God has anointed you to preach, brother. And I am so glad that you came on, and even though we've had technical difficulties.
Last thing I heard was I am.
Yeah, even though we've had several technical difficulties, man, that's actually what I said. It was technical. And but I'm just so glad that you're my friend, and so glad that you're in our lives, and we love you.
There's so many stories I could tell of when you, like, helped me so much. Like, I could go one after another, and like, those things are like burned into my memory.
Right.
Like when I was just talking about what happened during the first serve day, you put a word in my heart that I didn't believe then, but it's starting to come alive now. You told me, you said, you're your own worst critic. It's not that bad. Like, you told me that. You said, don't be so hard on yourself.
Wow.
Everything is fine. And that word has been traveling through time, because right then I didn't receive it. I did. I was like, I suck. I hate myself. I used to get tortured by it like, all the time. But now that is alive and well in my heart. And I'm learning how to not be so hard on myself. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Well, man, I believe in you, brother. And you've got a message. You got a great family. I was thinking about the other day. I was like, man, Josh is so blessed. Whenever we were at your house, I love your dog, by the way.
Man, she loves y'all too. She missed y'all.
That dog has made me want to go get a dog now. We literally went to 3 different shelters. Like,
really?
Last week, yeah.
That's great.
A dog, and they're like, hey, I'm not kidding, man. There was a dog in there, like, with like one eye that was like, it was like it said rescued from a hoarder situation.
No.
Not potty trained. Can't come inside.
No.
And can't be around kids under 10. I was like, I can't handle this one. We gotta move on, But but we're still kind of halfway on the dog hunt.
I hope y'all find one that's just a blessing.
Yeah.
Loves y'all.
I want a rough collie. What I'm looking for. Not a rough collie. Smooth collie, possibly. I don't know.
Rough and smooth collie.
Rough and smooth collie, man. That's a smart dog. You guys have a really smart. Yours is a Australian Shepherd, right?
Australian Shepherd mixed with Border Collie, so it's a Border Aussie is what they call them.
So it's basically doing your
Or an
taxes.
Aussie Shepherd. Huh?
It's basically in there at the kitchen table doing your taxes right now, basically.
Pretty much. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
She's pretty smart, but she never stops. She's always like, hey, let's play.
Yeah.
Or hey, let's snuggle, or like
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But when my son gets old enough to where he can actually go play, like, oh man.
Oh, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, it's gonna be so cool. I'm excited for both of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, man, I love you, brother.
I love you too, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, let's do it again sometime.
Yeah.
Man, I had a good time, man. I actually we want to come up and see you guys again soon. And I kind of halfway thought we were going to get to do that this week with the hurricane, but looks like the Hurricane Dorian's kind of turning. So according to Dorian Tracker,
Mm-hmm.
the hurricane is turning.
Finding Dorian.
That's right. We got Dorian on lockdown. And so I'm going to go zip tie my the screen door to my porch shut, and do some other things outside to make sure that nothing blows away. And we're gonna weather the storm because we got plenty of bread and water.
That's right.
Plenty. And we before the storm ever came, we went out and we gathered bread and water.
And I bet you got that expensive bread too.
Hey man, we paid a price
good
for that
stuff.
bread. We paid a price for that bread and took some, paying the price. Man, we took the time to go get it.
Come on.
We took the effort to go get it. What we were looking for. Like the 10 virgins in the story. That Jesus taught about a parable. That there were some that had oil in their lamps, waiting for the guy to come back from his trip. And there were some who didn't have oil, and the ones who did have oil, they were there, and the ones who didn't have oil had to go out and get it at night, the night before this guy comes back home.
Wow!
So they go out to get the oil, and by the time they come back, that guy had already got home, and so they didn't actually get into the party because he thought, are you a thief? Why are you showing up at night? Why are you coming in? Oh, well, we finally got our oil. We're supposed to come in, and you actually didn't let them in. And the thing is, like, I got to keep myself stocked with this oil, with this thing of like preparation in my heart with bread and water. I gotta get the living bread. I got to get the Spirit. I got to get the Word of God in me. I've got to get the Spirit in me. As far as meditating, like you're talking about on and however that looks. For you, it looks like working on your truck, working out there, working out. For me, I actually do love to work on the Jeep. And that I've spent a lot of time out there with the Lord. By myself and working on the Jeep. Sometimes. It gets a little complicated when your kids get a little older and a little more rambunctious. You got to get creative, with time, but finding that time is so precious.
Yes,
that bread.
Man, that's a good word for it.
Yeah,
precious.
It's to pay the price, like that text said. Don't we pay a price every time a storm comes up? Yes, we do, and thank God we do. Because, like paying the price for the preparation keeps us from having to pay a price inside the storm.
Oh, man, yeah.
So, man, I love you. I think this has been a lot of fun. And, man, if you need anything, you give us a holler. We love you.
Absolutely. We love you, too, very much.
Well, man, God bless you, and stay in the secret place.
Hey, yeah.